Hi guys, welcome to the video. This is just going to be a quick recap of the trades I've taken on the Trade Nation account alongside the trade today. Took a loss today after a break even because I got taken up by not amazing spread on a break even, so I re-entered taking a loss. I'm going to go through that trade, obviously tell you where I went wrong, just give a little recap. So as you can see, the position I was in today, just after taking me out, it's now started pumping up. There is actually a reason why I entered this trade, and I know exactly where I went wrong. But before we get into that, I'm just going to hop into the Discord real quick, give you guys a little rundown. So obviously, I took my first trade on the Trade Nation account yesterday, which was a break even. Took a loss today, but before I took this loss, I had an earlier position, but it took me out at break even, essentially when it shouldn't have. So I took a re-entry, which caused me end up having a loss. So I am down, I think it's literally like £3. Yeah, down £3 on the account. I was risking very little for this trade, specifically because it was a risky re-entry, alongside with the fact that it is pre-NFP. So yeah, just down £3 on the account at the moment. Completely minor, not even 0.5%. As you can see from the call out today, I called that we would hit the 4-hour imbalance and then head higher, aiming to take out the drawn liquidity and then subsequently hit the weekly imbalance. Those were that were in call. They obviously understand the thought process behind these trades specifically, but for those of you that weren't there, we are in a weekly imbalance. Well, we were, obviously we've left it now. We were in a nice weekly imbalance, waiting to start seeing some shifts to the upside. Obviously, we have seen this close above this high here, which is a good indication that we're about to continue higher. On the daily, we wanted to see a close above this high with yesterday's daily candle. However, we haven't seen that. So for me to take buys today was a bit risky. However, the way I sort of viewed that as probable is because essentially we closed above this high here, closed above this high here, and we had this bullish CSD from this 4-hour candle here, so that's a good area for us to buy from. So I was sort of buying in anticipation that the daily candle today would have closed above the previous day level here. So buying in anticipation like that, obviously risky, still worth taking it in my opinion. I was trying to hop in before NFP tomorrow to see if NFP would boost us up higher. That would have been an amazing trade, but obviously, as shown, I did take a loss. This is the loss that I took. Sorry, no, this was my trade that hit my break even on this candle here. So I decided to re-enter, having my next entry about here, which then resulted in the loss. Yeah. So essentially where I went wrong on this trade here, if you're in call, you know that I was looking for S&T between these lows here. As you can see on DXY and EU, this low here matches up time wise with this low, so it's very perfect for us to look for S&T, and vice versa with this low here. Very lovely lows to look for S&T from. When GU swept this low at 53, we saw EU enter this valid point of interest for us to buy off of, essentially. So EU was ready for us to buy. I wanted to see DXY enter this imbalance here at the same time. However, obviously it ended up pushing up higher from that. I should have used the inverse fair value gap here, but I did not even notice that at the time, and I don't really specifically use them. However, I probably will start incorporating them for my S&T models in particular, because there has been a few instances where I miss out trades like so. So instead of waiting for this imbalance there, I should have waited for this inverse fair value gap to get hit, which would have subsequently ended up with me entering bang on this candle here. The reason for this is I wanted to see GU sweep, wanted to see EU in a valid point of interest, like I'd show you, and then the second that DXY entered a valid point of interest was the exact same time we actually hit the 4-hour imbalance that I was wanting to buy off of. So closing this trade here, the ideal entry that I wanted to get and obviously would have got if I noticed that inverse fair value gap, would have been this trade here. Hit the 4 hour imbalance. All 3 pairs were in a valid point of interest, so I enter off rejection. Very, very simple. Would have shot up like so, obviously. Would have been stops to break even realistically after we disrespected this PD array here. However, a lot of the time I do like to go stops to break even after we actually break a high. So it really depends on the trade itself. But either way, for this trade, even if I was stops to break even early, I wouldn't have got tapped out. The SMT that I did try and buy from was from this low to candle up here. I'm not going to go through that SMT because it does work a lot. However, the first SMT of the move is the one you want to catch. If there's any form of SMT afterwards, it tends to be a lot lower probability. So even though this SMT was valid, if it was the first one there, I'm not going to go through that because obviously going to leave that in the student section. So yeah, with NFP tomorrow, we're really hoping it will boost us up higher towards the high here and the weekly volume imbalance. However, there's no guarantee of that, obviously. Intercro, James really wanted to see the daily low here get taken out within the weekly imbalance here. So the weekly imbalance is obviously very large. I've just narrowed it down to where we tapped into it. James wanted to see the daily low here get taken out before we continue higher. However, obviously we've started having shifts in order flow in the next 2 hours 26 minutes. I would love to see obviously the close above this high originally, but I would also love to see a close above this high here. If that is the case, then we will continue higher, most likely during NFP. DXY also supports that, and next week will be a very good week for continuations, hopefully, if NFP doesn't essentially take the move from us instead. So yeah, unfortunate loss for today, but obviously that's all part of the game. As you guys can see, after my correction, 2.5 pip stop loss is viable. I have the methodology behind it, I have the thought process, I have the steps towards it. It's just obviously you need to be very precise in a game like this to actually be able to catch trades like that. So obviously I'm not going to be able to do it every single time. However, I understand that if I can't do it this time, I will most likely get a scale in, or maybe even multiple scale-ins next week before we hit this level up here, depending on what NFP does for us. So yeah, unfortunate loss, but part of the game. Thank you all for coming. Obviously tomorrow I will not be trading due to it being NFP. I will not even host the call. So fresh back on Monday, hopefully ready to catch some nice trades.